CNG Media.
Welcome to Vino with Vito and Dave Taormina again.
Hey, Vito.
Dave, can you do me a big favor?
Yes.
I know you don't bring the wine, but next time, can you at least shave and maybe put a Robert Graham shirt on? Instead of this
The lumberjack.
The lumberjack plaid shirt you got going on.
Listen,
here.
it's very cold. We had snow in North Jersey, so I'm just when you don't have hair on top, it gets very cold.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah, so I have the beard.
I try to do the same thing. No hair on top, but
Serious question: you don't like the beard?
It's all right, but
My wife hates it.
does she?
Oh,
I don't blame her.
Yeah,
blame her.
She says I look 10 years older.
You
with,
do.
Yeah.
You do. You look like you're in your 60s.
It's exactly.
So, Dave, what do you want to talk about today?
All right, so I have some good stuff. So, we joke around a lot on the show, but you're a wealth of knowledge, Vito, and the time of filming today, which is January 12th, 2024, and for our national audience, we're in North Jersey. It's been a rough week, 2 weeks, battered with snow, and then we've North Jersey especially and tri-state area for that matter has been hit with a lot of rain. Torrential storm Finn. Finn is the name. Do you know that, by the way?
Oh, was it?
It was.
Called Finn.
It was.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were hit with, on top of the snow, almost 3 inches of rain. And
yes, 3 to 4 inches of rain.
3 to 4
depending
inches.
on where you were. Yep.
And a lot of our listeners are, obviously your past clients, but also a lot of homeowners in the area, and a lot of people who maybe are not in a flood zone have been affected by this storm. And so a lot of people have questions. You scroll through social media, through Facebook, TikTok, go on the town pages, right? And you see a lot of people are angry. A lot of people are confused. There's a lot of misinformation out there, right? So I kind of want to target a couple questions that I think will help our audience, all right? And these are questions I want to know the answers to, too. And since you've been...
Hopefully I can answer them correctly here.
Yeah, well, and I think you can, because I know that, like, in the areas that you have been selling, Bergen, Passaic, Essex, Morris, there's a lot of flood areas in there. So I know that you're an expert on this. So first question is this, and it's something I've seen, and I can't really get a straight answer on this, but I've seen it on, like, a lot of the town pages. In Pompton Lakes, they have the dam, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And when you scroll through, and, the big thing was with Governor Murphy, a lot of local officials asked, the state government to open the dam early, right? And for whatever reason, it was not opened early. It was opened up very late. I think it was a couple hours after the storm. And people were very upset, right? But as you read the comments, you kind of felt like it was more emotional, not fact-driven, right? So I guess like what people want to know is, number one, what does that mean when they say open up the dam? How does that benefit people, and how does that hurt people?
It'll benefit in a way if they do open it up early,
Mm-hmm.
okay? If you know that we're getting a major storm a week from now and the reservoir is up, okay? Open it up, let the water flow down a week ahead of time. So when the water's flowing down, you're not going to get flooded because the rivers are low.
Okay.
Let it go down. If all of a sudden now you were supposed to get 2 inches of rain and you're getting 4 or 5,
right,
and now that reservoir is way up,
yep,
what are you going to do? You have to open it because it's got to flow down again.
Right.
But now when you're opening it that high up, where's the water going to go?
Down.
It's coming down.
In certain towns.
In certain towns. Fairfield is one of them.
Yeah. Pequannock,
Wayne,
yep.
Fairfield, Little Falls,
yep,
and Patterson.
Yeah.
Think about Patterson, okay? I believe the last storm, 6 of their 7 bridges were wiped out in Patterson.
It's unbelievable.
I grew up in Patterson,
yeah.
Okay? Now, living in Patterson, Fairfield, we have an issue, but Patterson's got an issue now, too, which I don't think had that issue until they built that dam also.
Okay.
Hurricane Irene, they opened up the dam. It took a little while to come downhill. Mm-hmm. Now, the Pompton and the Passaic River in Fairfield come together.
Yep.
Now, when the Pompton and Fairfield, all of a sudden they collide, there's nowhere for that water to go, comes up to the storm drains, and Fairfield gets wiped out.
Yep.
So that's why you want to control that dam a little bit better, because you don't want to open it up at one time and say, here, okay, look out below.
Yeah.
That's basically what's happening. And, these guys got to get better at looking at that. And everybody says, okay, it's not the dam, it's not the dam. We weren't getting this flooding, this major flooding before the dam.
So, Vito, another question, right? You always see, again, on social media news, the river has crested.
Yes.
It's another, you hear that, you're like, oh my God, that's happening 2 days later.
Yes.
And the average person's like, well, what the hell does that mean?
What does that mean?
So what does that mean?
Absolutely. And especially for the new people moving into these towns, learning about the river cresting and all that, okay? What'll end up happening is the river is going to crest probably anywhere between 24 to 48 hours after, all right? Take Fairfield, for instance. We can hold our own rain. It's coming from up north.
Right.
That, the dam and everything else coming down, that's what's causing our river to crest and come up. So I'll give you an example. Right now, January 12th, 2024, the river just crested in Fairfield.
Which river? Passaic River?
Passaic River.
Passaic River.
Okay, just crested at about 21 feet. Okay? 21 feet is almost major flood stage.
Yeah.
Okay? So now it's going to start going down, right? At 21 feet, there's several roads in town that actually are closed. Not just Fairfield and Caldwell, West Caldwell, Roseland, Pequannock.
Route 23 in
Route
Wayne
23
was closed.
Wayne,
Yeah.
Willowbrook Mall and all that. So now the river is crested. It's going to start coming down. So there's water in the streets. They're impassable. Hopefully houses didn't get hit, severely. So now the river crested. Guess what? Today is Friday. What's going to happen tonight? It's going to rain again.
Right.
So now it's going to rain again. These storm drains are already out into the streets. We're supposed to get another 2 inches of rain. Tonight, into tomorrow. So now they're projecting the river to crest at 22.4 feet, or 22.2. At 22.2, a lot of neighborhoods are going to be underwater again. But now that's a projection. That's not taken into account. What happens if they get more rain up north? And now the dam is full again, and they got to open up the dam. Those numbers can go up.
So how do you stop this?
You can't. You can't.
So what do you do?
Pray for the best. And it's not like, okay, let me put yes, some people, the sandbags will help. Other people, the sandbags are not going to help. During Irene, I left. I knew the sandbags weren't doing anything.
You were evacuated.
No.
That was Sandy when you were in the back of the military truck?
Irene, no, but that was Irene. A lot of people stayed with Irene.
Yeah.
Yes, you should have evacuated or whatever. And my neighbors asked me, hey, what are you doing? I said, I'm leaving. I'm taking my 68 Corvette out of the garage and I'm going to higher ground. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
But few people stayed and they got wiped out. My house got wiped out.
That was when, I don't know if we can tell this story. It was disgusting. Remember your refrigerator when we helped you clean that? Was that Sandy or was that Irene? That was Irene.
Sandy Fairfield was fine. It was fine. More down the shore of New York City.
So Irene was when your house was just
it was
destroyed.
Destroyed. Absolutely.
So you lived, as a realtor, you lived through this. And,
Yes.
you've been, it's not like you're just selling a home and, and telling somebody, yeah, you're in a flood zone. Don't worry. You are an expert on flood. I know sometimes when it starts raining, the first person I text is you, Vito. What do you think?
Where's the river?
Where's the river at? Where's the river at? You are an expert.
Here, I'm going to give you an example. I had a friend of mine back in 2010. I'll never forget. It was my nephew's good friend. He introduced me. We became friends. And Frank, hopefully you're listening to this. He's looking at a house on the river in Fairfield in December. It was a great deal. It was a bank foreclosure. We go to the house. He loves the house. He goes, Vito, I want to put an offer. I go, Frank, let me show you something. I bring him outside. I go, see what that is? He goes, Yeah, it's water. That's great. We can fish. I go, that's the Passaic River.
Mm-hmm.
I said, that comes up. It fluctuates.
Yep.
He goes, but look how low it is. I said, it doesn't matter how low it is now. I said, there's a good possibility that you can flood.
Yep.
Well, yeah, it's low. Don't worry about it. I go, Frank, I'm just letting you know you can flood.
Yeah.
I want the house. I want the house. Buys the house. Okay? We close in March.
Okay.
He's got painters in the house painting. All of a sudden, the painters have to get evacuated
While they're painting.
while they're painting. Why? Guess what? We had a lot of snow that year.
Mm-hmm.
We had snow melt. We had a lot of rain. And the whole street, the house is about to get flooded.
Jeez.
Okay? What happens? The house gets flooded. Vito, the house is flooded. What do? You got to go through FEMA. You got to get through your flood insurance. He's all okay with it, redoes the house, and he's fine with it, okay? And I'll never forget, my for sale sign was on the front lawn. Actually, my sold sign.
Mm-hmm.
Vito Cantuzzi sold Century 21 on the front lawn, and there was a newspaper article on the front page showing my sign. And I'm like, what the heck did I just do, right?
That's right. Public enemy number one.
So, but I warned them. And so this now is 2011.
Mm-hmm.
River was at 22.3, got flooded. What ends up happening in August? Frank's in Florida. We get Hurricane Irene, more flooding coming. Vito, can you move stuff into the attic? Help me out, whatever. I'm like, it's coming, and it's coming strong. Wipes him out again.
Yep.
So it's like, now think about it. I got wiped out on my house.
Mm-hmm.
He's right on the river, which was even worse. So now he's got to redo everything again. And now he ends up going, to the state.
Yep.
And he got lucky. He got
The state bought his home back.
The state bought his home back, part of Green Acres. And getting off of that, I had someone call me yesterday, okay? And I'm glad we're talking about flooding here.
Yeah, it's timely.
Someone called me yesterday, and I'll mention to them to watch the podcast.
Sure.
They bought a house in Fairfield,
Okay.
near the river also, about
right.
3-4 years ago.
Okay.
Their agent was not from the area,
Mm-hmm.
but, they go look at the house. They knew it was in a flood zone. But the person told them, yeah, since I've owned the house, you had a little bit of water on the street, maybe a couple inches.
Right.
They buy the house. They've already flooded several times. Right now, they're out of their house with 2 kids, cannot get into their house, and they're asking me for advice. And I said, I'll tell you right now, if I was your realtor at that time, I would have told you, don't even think about buying a house there.
Right.
Looking at the history of that actual street, I know and sometimes I joke around, you sneeze and you get flooded over there.
But Vito, how do I know even on the mortgage end, and I don't have the answers, and I can't answer it for legal purposes. But people are like, well, do you know if the house flooded? And I'm always like, well, ask your real estate agent first line of defense. But let's just say your regular person, how do you know? You're looking at a house and you want to know if there's been flood incidents in that home. Me as a buyer, how do I find that out?
Oh, I mean, you got to go through, naturally look at the insurance claims, if there were any claims.
So you could find out if there's insurance claims on a home. It's very important.
Right. Your insurance agent can find out.
Okay. So you have to contact your insurance agent. Right.
Contact your insurance agent, and they can find out, hey, I just did one where, it was in another town, it was in Fairfield, and I asked for, a quote for flood insurance. It was repetitive losses.
Right.
They couldn't give me a quote.
So that means it's just disaster.
Right. So you had to go through FEMA and all that. So.
Okay. All right. And then I want to kind of move to a little bit more positive things, and I want to cover one more topic with you, Vito. So with all this rain, everything happening, right, you may look and say, okay, I'm paying flood insurance. I have not received a drop of water in my house. I was pretty positive that we were not in a flood zone. Now it's evident that I'm not. Is there a way for a customer or a homeowner to challenge their flood insurance and get rid of it?
There is, but like I tell everybody in here, I told my daughter the same thing. She bought in a flood zone in Fairfield. Okay. I had an elevation search.
What's an elevation, sir? For the
Elevation,
average,
it's a survey. They come out, they see your actual elevation of your home, your basement, your property, and that's how they can tell, hey, you're in a flood zone, you're not in a flood zone.
So right off the bat, if you want to know if you're below or above the floodplain, you get an elevation certificate.
An elevation certificate.
Okay.
And that'll tell you, like Fairfield right now, it's 174 point something. You're in a flood,
So if
anything
you're below
under that, you're in a
not.
flood zone.
You
You're
are
in a
I'm
flood
sorry,
zone.
you aren't right.
Anything
right.
above that, you're not.
above the flood.
Right.
Right.
So they
got it.
came
Okay.
back in April, I think it was of 2021, 2022, put all these houses in a flood zone.
FEMA
because,
did.
Right, because
Right.
they raised the elevation. It used to be 172.2. Now they raised it 2 feet. So if you weren't in a flood zone, now you're
Now
in
you
a
are.
flood zone.
You got swallowed in.
You got swallowed in. So my daughter's situation, she was just there. And she goes, "Oh, Dad, we can fight it." I said, "At this point, I wouldn't even bother.
Yeah.
Pay the $400-500 a year,
Right.
and you're covered.
Right.
And we know where you stand.
You're
as
protected.
you're protected.
Right.
And in a situation like that, I tell everybody, hey, if you're on the cusp of it or you're right there, take the flood insurance
it.
out. It's minimal.
Right. If it's $500 a year, that's good protection.
It's great protection.
And you can even get like some pump if you have a sump pump.
Right.
Sump pump protection.
Failure and
yeah.
and
it's
all.
so cheap.
Right.
It's like
But
$30 a
bucks
year.
a year.
Yeah.
But now you look at other houses where, you're at ground level, you're at 171.
Right.
And then you have a basement, you're at 163.
Yep.
Guess what? I'd be concerned.
Yeah. I mean, this is what and when you talk about local, right? And Jason Fiala, your broker, has, the office motto is "We are local." Right, and real estate is local, and I think this is just a conversation, not to gas you up, Vito, but I think this is an example of why a local agent and any agent that is so important, and why you want to work with somebody who knows the area, Vito. It's I mean, you are an expert, and
thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that,
So-
and that's why it's important, to work with somebody, especially in a small town. That are, you have houses in a flood zone that actually know, hey, guess what? I remember Hurricane Irene. I was walking the neighborhood and you were bone dry here.
Yeah. So for the audience too, that and guys in the studio too, if you ever want a good video, not to make light of anything, but when Vito was evacuated in Irene, he's in the back of a military vehicle.
Yeah,
right?
That's how I got home.
And he was on Eyewitness News, right? Was that
Fox.
Fox
News.
And somehow, if we can find it, actually, what we're going to do is for the next show, I'm going to find the clip.
Find the clip and we'll put it out there.
And it was a Vito that, an angry Vito that you don't see too often. But listen, just kind of just like moving on, right? Like, did you hear about the new guideline that banks or mortgage companies and banks are allowing now, that if you buy a multifamily home, so 2 to 4 unit home, right, as your primary residence, this is very important, as your primary residence now, do you know that you can do a conventional mortgage with 5% down?
Yes, I think we kind of went into it a little bit
On a prior episode.
So that's great information, because think about it. 5% down.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy a 2-family, 3-family, or 4-family home.
Live in one unit.
Live in one unit and
Yep.
collect the rent.
So and it's funny because we've spoke about this where there's an inventory problem, right? So I have clients, friends who own 2 families, right? And I feel like in this market, it is a great time to sell a 2-family. It's the highest value's ever been, and people pay a premium for investment, right? But as rates have gone up over the past couple of months, the affordability's kind of been an issue, right? Down payment. If you buy an investment property, you have to put 25% down typically on a multifamily home.
Correct.
Now, especially for a first-time home buyer, right, you could get the best of both worlds. You could put 5% down, live in one unit, rent out the other, become a homeowner and an investor all in one swoop. So I think to myself, I'm like, if you're a seller and you own a multifamily, you just gained a whole pool of potential buyers, and there's a lot of buyers out there.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, do you agree with me? Like, am I off on that?
No,
Am
no,
right?
I agree with you 100%. I mean, as a buyer to buy a multifamily, this is the best time to do it. Minimal money down, as long as you can qualify, you do it. As a seller, think about it as a seller. Why wouldn't you want to sell that multifamily you had?
Yeah.
I'll give you a perfect example. You know the person, I know the person.
Mm-hmm.
I'll mention the town, okay?
Don't mention the town.
I won't mention the
Don't
town.
mention the town.
That everybody will know.
Yeah.
Owns a multifamily.
Mm-hmm.
Constantly tell him sell.
Sell.
He wants to hold on to it.
Right.
Again, that multifamily might have been worth 4 or 5 years ago, $500,000. Okay, his rents were $1,750, $1,800.
Yep.
Fast forward 5, 6 years from now, that multifamily is probably worth $900.
Yeah.
Okay,
Almost double.
Almost double. His rents are almost double, $2,900,
Sure.
three grand. Why wouldn't you get out now?
What do
How
you-
much
yeah.
higher are these houses gonna go?
Yeah.
What are you waiting for?
I don't know. And I think there's a mindset in a lot of investors, especially older investors, that they feel that, real estate will always go up, and I'm just going to hold this asset, and and the rent is good income, not realizing that the influx of $900,000, for example, I mean, you could live off of that for the next 40 years.
Right.
So it's
and then everybody looks at, okay, now I got to pay capital gain.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yes, you're going to pay capital gain. You made money. You pay taxes.
Right. But if you talk to a good CPA, to a CPA, you can.
But again, what you paid for that, all those years you put money into that house, your capital gain isn't going to be as much as you think.
It's not going to be at 15%. There's items there, and obviously we're not tax professionals, so
we
disclaimer,
can't say anything.
Disclaimer: speak to your tax professional. But there are ways to wither down that capital gain with improvements that you do on the house, and so yeah, absolutely, I agree with you. But I think the 5% down rule is there always was 5% down with FHA, but with FHA it was a little bit more stringent. Costs were a little higher. This is a regular conventional mortgage, and I think about myself, like I bought my first home when I was 24. I bought a condo. Like if this was available then,
then you would have bought a multifamily.
I have a friend of mine who hopefully he's listening, his first home that he bought was a multifamily, 3-family. He still lives in the first floor, rented out the other 2 at a very young age. So for the young listeners and young buyers, he basically was in that house and his mortgage was covered by the rent. He gained a lot of equity. He bought another home, another investment. He owns 9 houses today.
There you go. Perfect.
You want to talk about building individual wealth, okay? And there has never been a better opportunity to pertaining to real estate to build a portfolio and build your wealth as there is today.
And I'm glad you brought that up where he lived in the house.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
People today just think, hey, I'm going to go buy a multifamily. They're living at home with mom and dad. I'm going to buy a multifamily, rent it out, and, after that one, I'm going to buy another one. The only way I would tell people to do that is like your friend did. Live in one. Rent out the other one. See what it's like being a landlord while you're in that house. Okay?
Yes.
And you look at that, that might actually change your mind in buying other investment properties.
Right.
Or that might make you want to buy more investment properties.
Being a landlord is not for everyone.
It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
But that's why I recommend and I tell everybody, go ahead, buy a multi, live in one, rent out the other, see what it's like before you start that process and thinking about buying another one.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. And I think we just need to get the message out there, right? And that's the purpose, I think, of this podcast, too, is get the message out for sellers and buyers, for investors. There are opportunities out there, and, you just have to grab it. Like, if you own that investment property and you don't want it anymore, there's nothing else to wait for. Just go.
No. But right now too is the great thing right now is buying investment properties too, starting out like I was just telling you, because again that can build you wealth down the road. Yeah, the prices are high. What happens? Prices go up, prices come down.
Right.
Okay,
Your income will go up. So.
Right. But now, if you own an investment property, you're living in one of the units, you're collecting the rent, you're still okay. If the price went down on the house, as long as you don't sell it and you still live in there,
right?
What's the difference?
So one thing though, I a reservation could be like, okay, like property taxes are high, right? We live in New Jersey.
Of course.
We have the highest property tax rate in the nation. So, like how do people deal with that, right? Like, and I know you're an expert on many things. So, like, let's just say I want to appeal my property taxes, right? How do I go about that, right? And in your opinion, and in your experience, have people been successful doing it? So, I guess like, how do I appeal my taxes, and what's my success rate looking like?
Years ago, it was good. Right now, I wouldn't go appeal your taxes.
Why?
Unless you're way, way up there and you think you're up there. Think about it. Your property values went up.
Right.
Right?
So if you do an appeal...
If you do an appeal, your property tax is a good possibility it's going to go up, not down.
So don't put the spotlight on you.
Don't put the spotlight on you.
Okay.
Especially in towns. Think about towns that are assessed 95%, 100%, 90% or whatever. Assessed values are 500. You're selling your house for 700.
Yep.
You got no shot in hell to get your property taxes lowered.
Right.
You got a good shot to get them higher if you go try to appeal them.
It's just insane though. Like the property taxes are just out of control.
They are out of control.
In New Jersey. I mean,
absolutely.
And you know why? Like it's a simple fix, right? We have 535 municipalities in New Jersey, right? And I think about like where I live. In a 3-mile radius, there's 5 towns with 5 police departments, 5, school districts, 5 superintendents, 5, and it's, but if you look at other states, even upstate New York, there's a lot of consolidated police departments, whatever. So, and I know this is like a hot button, but you do have to do some consolidation because that's why property taxes are so high. Like I even look at my town, it's 2 miles wide. We have 3 elementary schools.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Why do you need 3 elementary schools?
Yeah, but again, nobody wants to address these hard issues. And I think there's solutions to these problems without having to, lay off public employees. There is a solution without laying off public employees that could bring you're never going to bring property rates down, but keep it stable.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do.
Right.
You want to keep it stable. You don't want to keep them going up.
Right.
And I think if, we have some public officials out there listening, you know what, we'd love to have you on.
Get them on the show.
To explain to us why these taxes keep going up.
Especially on a county level.
Yeah. Right.
Like let's figure out why this is happening. Like, why can't they go down?
It's more on the county, not the municipality.
Right. Municipality has very little to do with the taxes.
Correct.
It's the county and it's the state and it blows my mind that they just keep going up and it's so much repetitive services and I get it. Nobody wants to see any home rule removed or layoffs in the public sector. I get that, but at some point there's going to be a breaking point in the property tax.
And I got to admit one thing, in my own township of Fairfield, our governing body does a great job. I got to say, guys, hopefully, the town is listening right now. Our taxes have been stable for the longest time. Right. A lot of times our municipality tax rate will go down, but it's always the county going up.
Right.
They do such a great job.
Yeah.
Our mayor, our councilor, our administrator, don't want to, I could mention names, but they do a great job.
Yeah. Don't mention names. If you ever run for office, you don't want to endorse somebody who you're going against.
That's why I have you here, Dave.
That's right. I'm gonna keep you on the straight and narrow.
On the straight and narrow. Yeah. But I love these conversations because you know what? We're trying to bring out to the people out there, hey, this is what we're going through right now.
And and we say this, and let's you know, and in New Jersey, you know, sometimes when people outside of New Jersey gets a bad name, right? Like they think automatically, like, you know, Sopranos, and which great show, by the way. You know, it's very stereotypical in New Jersey, but
And Fiorio painted the eagle on my hood.
yes,
by the way.
and on your shirt.
But
you know what?
Vito on my shirt. Go ahead.
But this is a great state to live in, right? And you know, you talk to people outside of New Jersey, and where else can you go in 10, 15, 20 miles? You could be in a city, and on the mountains, on the beach, right?
That's right. Yep.
Tons of parks, right? It's, you know, there's a lot of people in the state. Per capita, we have the highest percentage of people here, but it's a great state, right? So this is not like a knock on anything. We just need to kind of, you know, figure out this property tax problem, right? Because the last thing you want is people leaving the state.
Correct. Because your property taxes
Right.
are so high.
You want people to retire in the state. We have a beautiful Jersey Shore.
Oh yeah, but the issue with the taxes too. I mean, you have some towns where hey, your taxes are minimal. You know, next town over, they're double.
Right.
And they use the same schools, the same high school.
Right.
And you're saying to yourself, why would I live in that town when I can live in this town for half the tax?
Right.
And think about here. You have someone has no mortgage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My house is paid, whatever. I have no mortgage. My property taxes are $24,000 a year.
You're paying $2,000 a month just to live
You're paying $2,000 a month just to live in that house
for taxes.
For taxes.
It's insane.
Never mind your maintenance, your PSE&G, and everything else.
Right. Right.
For what?
So, and you know, we talk about like affordability for housing too. Like nobody talks about that. It's the property taxes that are the biggest burden. Your property taxes are almost as much as your mortgage sometimes.
Absolutely.
So you're paying 2 mortgages.
Oh yeah.
It's
Especially years ago when your mortgage is, you know, 150, 200,000, it was a lot less than your property taxes.
I don't know if we're going to see an answer in our time. I know there are answers, right? Like
Right. That's why we need some officials here.
That has to be your job to get somebody on this show.
Okay. No,
because
but that's why I have you.
no,
I heard
that's me.
you're gonna-
Listen, you're more politically connected than I am.
No,
Yeah, listen.
I don't know anything about politics.
Oh, listen.
all I know is I'm going to finish this wine and we're going to end our episode.
All right. Well, listen, it was a good conversation, Vito.
And on that note, one day, and that day will come, when you need to buy or sell a house. And when that day does come, you need to call the godfather of Northern New Jersey real estate.